So welcome to the session on consulting presentations. Let us have the expectation setting very clear. I have not worked with a consulting firm, but I teach at consulting firms. So I do a lot of sessions on visualization, analytics, storytelling with the big fours, the big three investment banking firms. Um, I have conducted over 250 trainings for PwC and EY in the past. At the moment, I'm working a fair bit with the big three, and I also work with some IB firms. Now, the core of what I do is not actually to make PowerPoints. It's mostly to enable people to do the analytics and present it via a PowerPoint. What is the difference, you may ask? I'm talking about PowerPoint more from an analytics viewpoint, right? Not so much from a strategy viewpoint. So I don't claim to be a subject matter expert on any particular area. So don't expect subject matter expertise to come in. For example, how to make a financial model or how to make a marketing model. That is not what the session is about. The session is about trying to identify what makes these presentations and reports that good. Also, how to deconstruct it, how to identify what makes it good and learn how to recreate it, right? So some of you I have met before, you have come for my other trainings, but I will still give a quick 1-minute background so that all of you have a sense of what I do. So I run a firm called Havisham Consulting. It's an analytics firm. I work as an independent consultant. The work I do is between Excel, Power BI predominantly. About 80% of my work happens between Excel and Power BI. And the rest is split between Tableau, a little bit of data science, some work in PowerPoint presentations as well. My work is as a data analytics consultant. So I'm not a strategy or a management consultant. I do data analytics and I consult organizations on that. In terms of my qualifications, I am Harvard Online Certified in Data Science, Microsoft Certified Trainer, Microsoft Office Master, Power BI Certified. Havisham Consulting is a Microsoft partner, and I was also a 40 under 40 analytics. In terms of the clients with whom I work, it's quite varied. So I do a lot of work in the energy and power sector. At the moment, I'm doing some projects with Sterlite, with Adani. I have, like I mentioned, already done a lot of trainings with two of the big fours extensively in the past. And at the moment, I do a lot of trainings for D-Shaw as well. I also get invited by Economic Times to do some masterclass sessions for them. All the details are on the website in case you're curious and you want to have a look. In terms of college engagements, I teach at different business schools. I've taught at 17 of the IIMs, 8 of the IITs. And I engage with these schools in a variety of formats. One, of course, is to take guest lectures and paid workshops. But I also judge a lot of competitions, give them case studies. A lot of these students do internships with me as well. So in the last quarter, I have been with Shriram College of Commerce for 3 weeks. This was an on-campus training. I partnered with IIM Udaipur for a workshop on analytics. Then in April, I was at IIM Kohikode for again a 3-week extensive training for the business leadership batch. All these details are on the website in case you want to have a look. Then I have a podcast called Conversations on Data, where I invite senior business leaders from a wide variety of functions and industries to speak to them about anything and everything related to a corporate career, analytics, the future of building, your own personal skill set. The most recent guest I had was Sanmeet Singh Sethi. Those of you who are students in this workshop today will really benefit from it. So Sanmeet is from the second batch of business leadership and Kohikode. He's working with Publicis Sapient right now. And he and I was speaking about peer learning, how to apply for B School competitions and how to win it. So he is a Forbes B School leader. He was the national winner for the Amazon Challenge. He was also a finalist for the Publicis National Challenge. So he's won a bucket load of different B School competitions. He was also listed as one of the 50 most employable B School students by Inside IIM, which is a big feat when you look at the sheer number of colleges out there. Like this, there are people from different areas. So Ankit was the national sales head at Allianz. Bharat is one of my batchmates who is now a lawyer. So we were speaking about how to become an entrepreneur and what are legal issues to keep in mind. And then finally, but most importantly, I have a YouTube channel called Havish Madhupati, and here you can find over 800 videos that has anything and everything related to Excel, PowerPoint, and Power BI. There are a few videos on Tableau and Python as well, but predominantly it is Excel, Power BI, and PowerPoint. And I will share it with you right away. You cannot hear me. I am not sure if others are also facing the same problem. Can the others just confirm? I hope audio is clear because everything seems to be okay on my end.
Your audio is clear.
It is? Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Asmita, just probably try to reconnect with something because everything seems to be okay on mine. Okay, perfect. Let's start with the training right away because I have a lot to cover and we have very limited time, okay? The reason I've not shared the files with you is because in a 1.5 hour format, we can't do a me doing it and then doing it sort of outline because it's going to take a lot of time. But I assure you that the moment the workshop is over, I'm going to share all the files with you, right? So don't worry about that. So the very first thing I want to talk about is how to make an appealing cover slide. So let me open one of the reports. Okay, so there's an Accenture report that I have. This we will be using for reference, all right? What is the report about is not really that important. What is more important is to see if it looks good and what is it that makes it look good. I know this is not in a presentation 16:9 format, but that doesn't matter. Whether it's a PowerPoint or whether it's an A4 report, it is not important because the basics of design will remain the same, right? So what I really like about this is the fact that there is a background image and there is white text on top of it. So the image fills up the entire page cover to cover, basically end to end. Also, the white text really shines because it blends with the background, but it's perfectly readable as well, right? So we will keep it for reference, and I'm going to go back to my raw file, which is this one. So let's say that you want to create a cover slide, and I have simply written here Havisham Consulting Report, and then I've written end-to-end project for employee 9-box script. Again, it doesn't matter what the report is about. I've just taken some sample text, all right? Now, what is it that we are trying to convert it into? So I have already created the solution, but I'll be doing it with you. And I hope all of you can see, this is how it originally looks like. And this is what I have converted it into, right? It's a very clean, polished, professional looking outline, right? Like this. Let me just go full screen once. Here we go. So you can see the color contrast, the font difference, the way the image has been cropped, and the logo as well, right? So we'll start with an easy example, then I'll gradually increase the difficulty. Okay, so like I said, I want to do it with you. So the first thing I'll do is to insert an image. Now, I already have the image with me in my folder, which is what I'm going to select. But if you feel, but Havish, where are you going to get these images from? Let's say you want one on sales or finance or performance, whatever it is, then the best website I recommend for this is called Pixabay. I am sharing the link with all of you on the chat window as well. It's called Pixabay. It's owned by Canva now. It has lakhs of images in it, right? So you don't have to worry about the number of images. All royalty free, free to use, exceptionally high resolution. Let's search for something. Let us say we are searching for a very generic image, something you can put on any presentation of yours. So let's say we are looking for a landscape. You know what I mean, right? Like something with a mountain or with a city at the back end is something you will find in a lot of different reports. And I can just randomly open any consulting report to show you what I mean. For example, let's say we're searching for BCG and I'm looking at, let's say, consumer packaged goods and PDF. These three keywords are how you search for existing reports, and there are thousands of them out there, completely free of cost. You put in the name of a company, so you have BCG, McKinsey, Bain, KPMG, EY, Deloitte, PwC, Accenture, IBM, Oliver Wyman, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, whatever it is, right? So any firm, you put in the name of a sector, and then write PDF next to it. And as you can see, you will find not just tens and dozens, but hundreds and thousands of these reports. So I'm just going to open a few of them at random, and you will notice that, okay, I might have to search a little bit, if that's okay. but I'm sure we'll find it. See, this is what I mean. Usually when you look at consulting reports, they don't just have a blank slide or a colored format background. They would usually have an image at the back. Does the image always have to be a perfect fit with what you're talking about? Not really. I mean, look at this. We're talking about CPG companies. Why would I want to have some highways at the back end when I'm talking about CPG companies? Because these images should not really speak something of themselves. See, the point is that if the image is too striking, if the image has a meaning already attached to it, it's actually confusing for the user because then the image has a meaning and I don't know what we're talking about. It's best to have a generic looking image. And as you can see, the more reports you read, you will feel that, oh, this is exactly what these firms do, right? So that's what we are doing as well. I am going to Pixabay and I can download something from here. So I've already taken this workplace image. I want to send it to the back. So right click and send to back. And I'm just going to adjust it from corner to corner. Now, one problem we will notice is that it doesn't fill up the entire page width-wise. So what do? I'm just going to zoom out and I'm going to increase the image size a little bit so it fills up the entire slide edge to edge width-wise, right? But then it's extending outside the slide, which I don't like. So I want to crop it. So right-click and crop. And we will just crop it from the bottom so that it is exactly the size of the PowerPoint slide right now, like this. Looks great. But the problem is that the text is not visible at all. So what we want to do here is, yeah, Zahira, I'll answer that. Just give me a moment. So what do we do about the text which doesn't have a good contrast? Watch carefully. So I'm going to select my text. Let's increase the width a little bit. Change it to white color and choosing, let's say, an Arial black, something I personally love to use, and increase the size a little bit, right? Like this. But you will notice that it's still not the best because it's white text and the image at the back end also has a lot of white in it. So what do? Watch carefully. I'm going to select the image. We go to picture format. And you notice we have these four options. We have correction, color, artistic effects, and transparency. Some bit of hit and trial will be involved in it. But for now, what I'm doing is I'm going to color. And you notice I can change the color. But that doesn't really seem to help me. So when we go to corrections, check this out. You see what we did? The moment I'm decreasing my brightness and my contrast, do you see how immediately the text starts to shine, right? So like this. And then of course we can increase the size a bit further. Okay, now having color contrast is very important, what we call a differential color. So don't have the title and the subtitle in the same color. You won't see a lot of reports doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my image and crop it from the top as well, like this. And then the text box that is coming above, I want to keep a color that is already there on this image. For example, I like the blue here. So I'm just going to select my text. Then we go to the eyedropper tool. The eyedropper allows you to select any color that is there on your slide. And I'm going to just select this blue here, right? Like this. So there you go. Now, this is a very simple looking cover. I am going to make a more flashy one as well. It's not that you are not allowed to use flashy reports. You can make them, especially the cover slide. Because see, at the end of the day, it's a first impression, right? If you feel it is appropriate and it adds value, by all means do that. Let me give you an example. So I'm just going to make a copy, right? So let me make a copy. And what I want to do here is I will remove the image and I want to keep a video here. Of course, you can't use it if you are looking at a PDF, if you want to convert your PowerPoint into a PDF. But if you're presenting something live, then this looks absolutely fantastic. Watch. So I'm going to search for, again, a city, but I'm going to search for a video this time, not for an image. And you notice we have these looping videos like this. Let's select one of these. Free download. Let's put it on our PowerPoint. So I'll come back, insert, video, this device. and I'll select my sole video. Now, of course, we want to crop it so that we can see the text that comes on top of it. So either you keep the text at the top, or if you want to crop it, you can do that as well. Just like we can crop an image, I can go to video playback, video format, and I can crop it. So I'm going to crop it like this, right? And I would also like to select the video, and on the playback option, select loop until stop and start automatically. This way, what happens is that the moment you go to full screen, it starts to play like this. It's pretty cool, right? Of course, I agree that if you want to convert it into a PDF, it's a little pointless. But then otherwise, it's a great idea to have a video like this as the backdrop of your cover slide. Just looks fantastic. And it's something different, that you're able to do. Any questions on this, Iman? All good? Okay. Let's try something different. So I'm going to close it. And let's go back and try a different one. And this time we want to work on the title as well. So when you read a lot of these reports, you see that usually the titles will have some direction or some meaning to it. For example, look at this one. It says for CPG companies, necessity is the mother of great innovation. It just doesn't say report on CPG companies, right? Again, it could have been the fastest growing CPG companies, but it says what the fastest growing CPG companies do differently. So there has to be a call to action. There has to be that carrot, which essentially interests the user and makes them want to read what is there in that report. And this is something you will find across these presentations and reports, which is the ability to have something which is exciting, right? So for example, I have a sales team performance written here. And there's nothing exciting about it. It's so boring that even I might not want to read it. So what I have converted it into is something like, something like this, right? Very simple, nothing very flashy, but just the way the image, the font size, the font colors, and the little bit of animation has been used. It looks very subtle. And if you look at the title, I'm not the right person to teach you what titles to write. I think that you can learn from somebody who teaches business communication. But the idea is that making a good PowerPoint is not just about learning the tools. I can teach you the tools, but you still need to have the meat behind it. And that can only come if you have a mentor or if you read a lot of other reports. But let's see how we make this. So what I've done here is I have sales team performance at deep dive and 5 actionable. So rather than just writing sales team performance, I want to make it seem more attractive to the user, right? So let me do that. So I'm writing deep dive. Of course, we want to have that image as well. So I'll just go to insert and pictures and this device, and we have a image. But we want to crop it into a circle, right? It looks very nice that way. Now, the problem is that when I go to crop, then I can't convert it into a circle because it remains a rectangle. So I want to go to crop to shape, and I want to select a oval. There is no circle in PowerPoint, but I will select a oval. And one more time, I will click on crop. So basically, you have to do crop 2 times. First, you define the shape, and then you click on crop. Now you use these black handles, and you just move them closer so that it becomes a circle, right? Right? I think that seems good enough. Let me just move it a little bit like this, and we get this. Now, the problem is that because my background is white, it would not be possible to have a good contrast, right? So as I've done here, I want to keep the background as something non-white, right? Like a light beige. So again, right-click, format background, and then on my format background, we will select a solid fill. And what is the color we want? We will choose an eyedropper, and I'll just choose a color from here, okay, somewhere here. It's too dark, so let me just increase the transparency a little bit. That's a lot better. Now we want to make the font gigantic. So let me increase the font and make it like really, really large. And we also want to make it Arial black. Having color contrast between the title and the subtitle is very important. So I'm going to make sure that my subtitle is a little smaller and also the color is a little different. So I'm going to choose this blue here like this. Okay? And you also want to have something which leads to an action, right? So you want people to press that next button and move on to the next slide, right? So I want to write 5 actionable points, which gives clarity to the user in terms of what can they expect from the report. Is this report just going to consist of images? Is it going to be quotes from my manager? Or is it going to talk about forecasts? That clarity has to be there right in the beginning, right? So since we are talking about actionable points for the business, we should mention that, right? So that's what I'm doing here. I'll just copy the text box. And I'm going to say 5 actionable points. We want to change the color here. So I'll select my eyedropper and choose a color here. And finally, we want to have an icon. So for the icon, I go to Insert. We have inbuilt icons in PowerPoint now. So Insert Icons. And I want these arrows. So it's called a chevron. So I choose a chevron. We get these inserted. And we can change the color here as well. So graphics format, graphics fill, eyedropper, and I'm going to choose maybe some sort of a dark gray here, right? Like this. We'll also offset it a little bit so that it just looks like a subtitle. Perfect. But I think an animation would look appropriate here. I'm very choosy about animations, so I only add them when they add value, not for the heck of it. How do we add an animation here? First, I select both of these, press Ctrl G to group them. Then we go to animations. We select the animation pane, right? Let me just put my video in the bottom right corner so it doesn't obstruct anything. Okay. So I go to animations, I select animation pane, and we want to add an animation which is fly in. By default, it flies in from the bottom. So we want to change that. We want to fly in from the left. And it's too fast. We want to change the speed. So I'll double click on it. And in the timing, I will select not very fast, but let's say medium. Here we go. So now when the slide opens, right, we should get this. Right? Again, no rocket science here. It's a simple presentation, but I hope it gets the point across. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is the use of icons. Let me first give you some examples. So I have a few reports that I have shortlisted here. Let me close everything else. It's too much open. Okay. Check out this report, page number 9 and page number 70. Okay. So we come to page number 9. I hope you see everyone. So it's a BCG report talking about the gig economy in India. And they have these points that have been mentioned. And for each of these 6 points, they have a corresponding icon that comes here. It looks great, right? Imagine if the icon wasn't there, it would seem too text heavy. Now, a lot of people be the devil's advocate and ask, Havish, but isn't it too cartoonish and a little unprofessional? The only thing I say is that if a BCG feels it's appropriate to put them, I think we should do that too. There's another style of icons that they have used, which I really, really like. Do you see this? This is called an isometric icon. So these are basically rotated. It's a 3-dimensional icon which has been rotated, right? I'll just tell you what these are. It is called isometric icons. And if you Google it, you will find loads of them like these. So it's a simple icon, right? But just the fact that it's isometric makes it look more lively. And now you will notice a lot of other firms are using these type of icons as well. For example, if I go to LinkedIn and I'm just typing an incorrect link, do you see the way these images are being used by Microsoft and Google and Facebook and all firms? You notice that now these images are very clean. They have a very soft color palette, not very bold, brash colors. And this is a design language that everybody seems to follow nowadays. If you look at the way logos are being revamped and brand logos are being revamped, everybody is opting for a simple, clean logo with rounded corners, no sharp edges, simple colors like that. So that's a design philosophy that you will find everywhere across brands around the world. And I love the way these isometric icons have been used as. Anyway, let's see how we can create icons. I'll also give you a couple more examples. So this is an Accenture report, and let me come to page number 8. Okay, again, very simple. So these are just outline icons. So they are very simple. The BCG ones, if you remember, were more extravagant. They really look like a real world sort of articulation, but here it is a very simple line icon. This looks good as well. And look at the way the colors have been used. There is a gradient color. So it's not the same color, slightly different variations on the same color. And then I have one by PwC, which is on page number 7. Oh, by the way, look at this background. So nice, isn't it? Workforce of the future. And this is the type of an image that you can really keep on any report of yours. Right? Anyway, let's come to page number 7. And again, look at these. Personally, I don't like it. I mean, I've taught PwC in the past. I've never been fond of the icons that they use. I just feel that the icons just seem randomly picked. It seems I've just picked up icons from different websites and I try to put everything in a single place, right? Personally, I don't like it, but I leave that judgment up to you. For now, I want to teach you how to make it. By the way, let me show you what we are trying to create. So I'm trying to create something like this. Pretty nice, right? So we have a nice title. We have 5 icons: beverages, care, alcoholic beverages, beauty and personal goods, household products. Let's see how we make something like this. And I'm not just going to tell you what to do. I'm also going to tell you how to do. Okay. This part of the workshop is very important. Pay attention. The first thing I'm doing is, you notice there is a text box, which is what you will typically have. But I want to break it into 5 different text boxes. How do I do that? Watch carefully. I would always prefer not to make a text box. I would also always prefer to make a rectangle. Why? Because rectangles are easier to manage. Now you might say, but Havish, text box does not have an outline. A rectangle does. That's okay. I can make a rectangle and I can remove the fill color in the outline at the very end. So please watch what I'm doing. I'm just copying the rectangle. Okay, I'm making one. Now don't do a copy with a Control C, Control V. Look what I'm doing. I'm pressing Control and Shift with my left hand. Control and Shift with my left hand. And with my right hand, I'm clicking on the shape and I'm dragging it down. It's very difficult to explain this in an online format, but try to follow me. Press the Control and the Shift key with your left hand, and with the right hand, click on the shape and move it down. Something like this. What's the big deal? Now you can repeat the action by pressing Control Y. So Control Y, Control Y, Control Y. Pretty simple, right? This is one way of doing it. Or if you find it a little difficult, you can also do this. Make the first one, press Control C and Control V. So Control C, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 5 shapes. Please see what I'm doing. I'm just dragging it down like this. I'm only putting the shape, the first one and the last one, in the correct position. Now we will drag and select all of these. I will go to shape format, align, and I will select align 2 times. One is for align center, so everything comes in the center. The other one is for align and distribute vertical. Very simple, right? So that will automatically keep an equal spacing between all the shapes. Perfect. Now I have to copy and paste these things. And you will say, but Havish, this part is obviously going to be manual, right? You will press Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. No, I'm going to make this process a little better. If you're working on a Windows laptop, then there is a shortcut called Windows V, V for victory. Windows V opens up something called the clipboard like this. If you have never used it before and you use it for the first time, it will ask you to enable this feature. Windows V, okay? How does it work? Watch what I'm doing. I'm just pressing Control C like this. Everyone, Control C, select Control C, select Control C, select Control C, and then finally select and Control C. What's the big deal? Now I can come here, I can press Windows V, and you see I have all the 5 points. And you see how smart I was. I actually copied it in the opposite direction, from the 5th to the 4th to the 3rd, 2nd, and the 1st point. Now I just have to click here, select, click. You see how much faster this process is, everyone? And you can even use this shortcut when you're working between different applications. Much faster, isn't it? Rather than doing a Control-C, Control-V every single time. It's called a multi-copy and a multi-paste. Okay, now that we have this, I need one more of this because I want to have the title as well. So copy and I'll paste it here. But it still doesn't look to be in the final shape, right? There's quite a lot that we still have. I hope it's okay if I don't repeat it. Some part of it I will repeat when I show the icons. The only thing is that I have a lot more to cover. Plus the session is being recorded. I hope it's okay if you can go back and rewatch this part, right? Okay, now we need icons, everyone. So first thing I want to do is I'll just select my shapes and put it here. But you will notice that I think the spacing is too much. I want to decrease it. How do I do that? Watch carefully. I'm just selecting the last point. I'm moving it up. Now I can just select all the 5 and I can reposition it. So when I go back to align and distribute vertically, do you see how the spacing reduces? I can also use the shift and the arrow keys. So shift, left, right, up, down, like this to change the size of the rectangle. That looks very nice. And now I can just put it here. But we need the icons as well. So I will go to insert and icons and look what type of icons we want. We want one for a beverage. So I'll type a beverage. I'll select this one. We want alcohol. It's actually non-alcoholic. That's okay. I can select a non-alcoholic beverage like this. Then I select something related to pet, which is what we have here. Then we have beauty. So I'm just going to select something related to cosmetic, right? And finally, we have household. So we have something related to household, right? Once you've selected all the 5 icons, I'll click on insert and you get the icons like this. Same trick that I told you earlier. First, make sure that you align only the first one and the last one, or rather position the first one and the last one. Don't do everything manually. Watch carefully. First, I will take the first icon, which is my non-alcoholic beverage. I'll put it here, but I feel it's too large in size, so I want to reduce it. So I'll go to graphics format and height and width. It's currently set to 2.54, so I'll just reduce it till I like the size. I think this looks still a little bigger, so let me reduce it further. And if you notice, yeah, I think this is good. I like the size now. So what is the size we have selected? You notice we have selected 1.68. So I'm going to select all the other 4 and I'm going to make it 1.68, right? And then remember, we only select the final one. So I select the one with the household care, put it vertically here. Then I select my pet, I'll select my beauty, and I'll select my alcoholic beverages. It actually should be the other way around. So please allow me to just reverse it, okay? So this is non-alcoholic and this is alcoholic, right? Perfect. But they're still not positioned perfectly, no problem. I just select them, graphics format, align, distribute vertically, align, center. They're all aligned perfectly. But I want to play with the colors as well. So what I'm going to do is that for the title, in the shape format, I will remove the outline, so no outline. In the shape fill, I will select no fill. And I would like the font color to be something interesting. But what do I mean by interesting? Why can't I just go to my text color and select something from here? Because this is all very random, right? You're not choosing the color as per any rule, any guideline, any design principle. So the website I recommend that all of you go to is called brandcolors.net. I'm sharing it on the chat window as well. It is called brandcolors.net. It's a massive compilation of brands from around the world and the colors that they use as a part of their palette. For example, let's say I'm searching for Google. So we have the colors here. Now this is the color I want. Watch carefully. I'm going to choose my green color here. Come back to my PowerPoint. And in my text, we will go to more colors. Then I'll go to custom. And in my hex code, I'll just paste this color. I know this process takes a little bit of time, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that difficult. And we get the exact green that Google uses as well, that everybody is familiar with, right? Okay, I want to do the same thing here. So I'll select my boxes. First, I'll remove the outline. I will also remove the fill color, right? But what is the text color that we want? I want to come back. I want to take this blue, come back to my PowerPoint, and then we go again to text, eyedropper, I'm sorry, text and more colors. I want to go to custom and I want to paste this hex code for the blue, and we get this. Pretty cool. And finally, I also want the icons to be maybe a gray color. I don't want them to be black, right? I think black is too sharp. So I want to select all of them, graphics format, graphics fill, and I'll choose a gray color. Let's also align everything to the left. Oh, by the way, if you feel accidentally you always move some things around like this, which happens with everyone, if you're working on the latest version of Microsoft Office, Microsoft 365, you can also right click and lock a shape. This way, what will happen is that once you lock it, you can't move it accidentally. This is a very new feature, but really, really useful, right? The ability to lock any one of the shapes. So there you go, everyone. This is how we have managed to essentially um, get the same Google colors. Right? And there's some small effects and all if you want to add. For example, maybe at the bottom if you want to do something. For example, maybe I want to just take insert shapes. Right? So maybe I just want to take that yellow from here, come back and just change the shape fill color to that color. And let's move the logo a little above and remove the outline as well. So no outline. So there we go. So if I go full screen, this is how it looks. Right? Very clean, very professional. And as you can see, the icons really add a lot of value to the slide. And see, it only takes time the first time you do it. The first time you get your colors and the design language in the right place, then a lot of it can be done with Format Painter and copy and paste. Right? Okay, now icons are of various types. Um, I don't want to take you through all the theory here, but just wanted to share one of these links with all of you. Just give me a minute to open it. See, icons are like really, really important. So any report that you read or any presentation that you see, icons will always be super important. So I just want to show you something related to icon categories. If you allow me, just click on the link, which I can't seem to do. Why not? What do I have to press? Shift, Control, and click. That's what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. I will share the link with everyone as well on the chat window. Control C, and it says something has gone wrong. That's not good. Hold on, let me try the other one. Is this one working? No, it's not working perfectly, but that's okay. This is not the link I wanted to show you, but nevertheless, as you can see in icons, there's a lot that goes into it. For example, the width that you have of these icons, whether you have a sharp corner or whether you have a smooth rounded corner, optical balances, right? So for example, the square size and the circle size, right? It's very important to have the same height. That's what everybody would say. But the thing is that if you keep the same height, then optically they don't look the same. I know a lot of you would be thinking that, Havish, we are creating PowerPoint slides. We're not creating mobile applications and websites. I get that. But even when you're creating a PowerPoint, it's still good to understand these design principles and languages because some part of it can be used when you want to take your PowerPoint from a good to an excellent, right? So I don't expect you to all become designers overnight, but then maybe just broadly read a little bit about these things. You can just pick up any website from the internet, and I think you will get to learn a lot. For example, we have something called glyph icons, which have become very popular recently. So glyph icons look like this, right? Right? Let me show you some other styles as well. So I'm not sure how to show you. Just give me a moment. Just a minute. Let me go to flaticon.com, and I want to show you something. One moment. Okay, here we go. So yeah. Yeah. So when you look at icons, you see these styles. So we have one is called black outline, right? Then you have a black fill. Then you have gradients. Gradient basically is where a color actually has a gradient to it. So you have a light blue to a dark blue. Then you have these hand drawn, which looks more like hand drawn illustrations. Then you have a lineal color, and then you have flat lines. Of course, there are other types as well, like the isometric ones that I showed you. But the point is that icons have a lot of depth to it. And depending on the style of your presentation, you should really decide what type of icons is most suited to you, right? Don't just randomly choose them from everywhere. Like a lot of people now use these circular round icons. They look great. And because they have a defined boundary, they look really nice. Otherwise, an icon just floats everywhere. But the fact that it's encompassed in a shape, which is a circle, looks really nice, right? So I don't have any perfect website to tell you, but you can maybe just do a cursory Google search and try to find the different types of icons out there, right? For example, the one PwC is using here are these, right? Other rounded icons. All right. The next I want to talk about is charts. Now, see, here's the thing. When you start reading these reports, of course, you'll find a lot of different charts being used. Sometimes they are charts, sometimes they're infographics. Now, I know this has been done on Excel. By the way, I created this Excel specifically for the purpose of today's workshop. I have never done this before, but I hope this helps all of you. Now, imagine that you want to put something on your PowerPoint, right? What is the default chart that we have on Excel? We have this one, right? When you just go to insert chart, this is the one you get. Here we have 4 years and the number of innovations, and we have a chart like this. I just want to show you the variety of ways in which the same data and in fact, even the same chart can be presented. Okay, watch this. One of the first things I do with the chart is I make a meaningful title. So the title should not just be innovations. It's not exciting. It doesn't tell me anything. Does it tell me if something is going good or bad? No. It just tells me that the chart is about innovation. I know that already, right? It is important to say that innovation declined after 2 years of growth. So 15 to 16, 16 to 17 was a growth year, and then it declined. Let me explain what I mean by this. So if you look at a lot of these reports, let me try a different one. Okay, check this out. So this is by BCG. I don't want to show you a BCG one. I want to show you a different one. So this is an Accenture report. It's a bar chart, nothing special. But look at the title that they have kept. They've not just said that survey results, right? They've actually made it meaningful. They've said that percent of executives who believe the majority of new vehicle purchases will be completed online by 2030. Now, a lot of people say, but should you have such a detailed title? Should you not just keep this bit of information as a text box? The question is, why would you want a text box? Integrate it with the chart itself, right? So that everything becomes one single entity. And I can give you a lot of these examples to show you how, like, this is still boring, distribution by market. It doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't tell me if it's an anomaly. It doesn't tell me if everything is uniform. It doesn't tell me if anything is striking. But if you look at a lot of these other reports, you will see that the titles have a lot of meaning attached to it, right? So you should always pay a lot of attention to that, right? Anyway, coming back, how have I converted this one into this one? I also want to show you so that I hope all of you agree that the one on the right looks so much better than the one on the left, right? So please see what all changes we have to make. Once I made my first chart, okay, please watch. The first thing I'll do is I will delete my title. Also, I will increase my y-axis because I need some space to put a new title. So I will double click on the y-axis and I will say that let the maximum be 1200. So this keeps some white space at the top. I will select my grid line and we delete it. I will also select my y-axis numbers and delete it. Then I want to increase the thickness of all my columns. So we will select the columns and there's an option called gap width, which I want to reduce like this. Very cool. Once I've done that, we want to add the data label. So I'll just add my data label. We'll also make it bold. And then I want to make a shape. So insert shape. And in this shape, you can write what you want. In my case, I'm writing innovations declined after 2 years of growth, right? Once the shape has been created, you can just delete the outline, delete the fill color, change the color. So text color here is a blue, and the decline can be in a differential color so that it catches your attention. We're making it red like this. Very simple, right? But I want to show you many more examples. Please watch. Same data, okay, same chart. So what I've done here is I'm using categorical colors. So rather than have the same color for all the 4 years, I have put 4 different colors in it. Why would I want to do that? Just because it looks nice, right? And it's easier, it's more interesting for the person to be able to distinguish all the 4 years. Do the colors have any meaning attached to it? Absolutely not. They're just random colors that I've picked up. Then you have something called gradient colors. Again, you notice that I'm using the same blue, but I'm using different shades of the same color. Then you have a differential color where the color has a meaning to it. That means that wherever the growth happened, I want to show a green. Wherever the decline happened, I want to show a red. So the red should automatically capture your attention. To go back to one of the reports I have, look at, just a moment. Okay, look at this. Do you see what they have done? They have kept a neutral gray color everywhere, right? Because the only important part that they want to talk about is this, the second point and the first point. And that immediately catches your attention, right? That is why everything is neutral except the point that they want you to look at. Look at this. This is a color with a meaning attached to it. So the green and the red clearly have a significance where you want to say that during the recovery period is where the numbers were down, right? So the levels of okay. This is called a custom tooltip. So rather than showing the numbers, because see, numbers we all know. When you're typically presenting something to a stakeholder or to a client, we know the numbers. There is no point of putting the numbers out there again, saying it's 272,591,796. What I've done here is I've actually shown the change or the delta. But how do you do that? How do we not show the number, but we show the delta? Let me just explain. So first I'll keep my data label. Okay, please watch how I change it. I'm going to click on it on the data label. And then we will say that we don't want to show the value, but we want to show the value from cells. And which cells? I've already created the calculation here. So now you notice that it won't show the actual number, but it will show the delta that comes here. We don't want to show the 0% like this. Okay, let me give you some more examples. This is called a boundary. The boundary is similar to what has been done here. This is a second level of capturing the user's attention. See, colors allow you to capture the user's attention, but when you create a boundary, you are basically making it even more impactful by telling the user, look here, this is an important part I would like you to look at. Nothing special, just a shape with no fill color attached to it. From a design principle, we have something called the Gestalt principles, which is what we follow in design language. Everybody in advertising, design, marketing uses it. In Gestalt, we have something called closure, right? So I will not take you through the theory here, but it's important for you to know that how the principles have an impact. For example, when you look at the logo here, what makes you think that it's a football? Because of the fact that even though there are missing parts, our mind is able to fill up the areas that are missing, right? And there are lots of examples that are like this, right? So where we talk about law of similarity, right? Why do you think that the first 3 rows are one group and the next 3 rows are a different group? Have I said that? Why would you not say that the first 2 columns are together and the next 2 columns are together? Because of the fact that they have different colors to it, without me needing to tell you that, okay, the first 3 rows are one group and the next 3 rows are a different group, you automatically think of it on those lines. Similarly, we have law of continuity. So despite the fact that you will all say that, Havish, it's a curved line, I will say, no, it's not a curved line. It's just dots that happen to be next to each other. Our mind fills up the gaps and it assumes that it's a complete line. But Actually, if you think about it, it's not a complete line, right? Similarly, law of proximity. I'm not going to get into detail here. There's a lot of information available on the internet, but just make sure to read about the Gestalt principles. Right? Okay, coming back, you can also make an infographic. So rather than have a color, you can have images or icons within it. I think it looks very nice. It's still professional, but a little more attractive, right? And the good part is that the icon can be a fit with what you're trying to say. So you're talking about innovation. So I've kept something related to innovations in it. You can also have a gradient where you have a range of colors that come. Okay, now let me also show you the dynamic charts. This is more of an Excel part of the training rather than a PowerPoint one, but still, we are talking about consulting presentations. A presentation could be in the form of an Excel file, as isn't it? So what I've done here is that whichever year I select, you see what's happening? It's able to highlight that. Now see, I will not be able to explain all of this step by step because I don't have that much time. It will take me 15 minutes to explain every single example. But you will find these things on my YouTube videos and on my online courses as well, right? But I hope you like the way I presented it. I really like this one. This is without programming, okay? Check this out. So what we're doing is we have kept a baseline. Let's say the baseline or the reference line is 400. So any number above the baseline will be green and any number below will be red. Check this out. How cool is that? I mean, it's visually very stunning. And the best part is no programming. You notice these are just formulas that I've kept and very simple if statements that I've kept, right? Also, look at this one. This is for showing the top end values. So let's say you want to highlight the, check this out. You want to show the top value. So you just say, this is my top value, top two, top three, and top. So there are so many different variations of, making these charts dynamic. I've just given you a few instances here, but once you get the hang of it, then you will be able to create many, many other variations on this as well, right? Okay. Now, when it comes to charts, what I suggest all of you should do is to go through these reports and see the charts that other companies are using. For example, this is by Nielsen. Do you see what they've done here? This is a Nielsen report, which is the world's largest marketing research firm. Look at the way they have used the colors. This is a gradient, right? So the same color, but different shades of the color. They have not kept a categorical color. Look at the way their icons have been used, right? Look at the way they're like, rather than saying 75%, they're making it with a did you know? So it's more attractive to the audience. So rather than just saying that 75% of the survey respondents were not confident of the marketing spend. That's a very boring way of expressing it. But the fact that they have said it with a did you know, it's exciting. It looks as if a design team has created this part of the slide, isn't it? Imitation is the best form of flattery. So when all of you are creating PowerPoints, please do not work from scratch. That would be the stupidest thing that any of you can do. Please look at these thousands of reports available on the internet. Wherever you find something that you like, for example, I really like the way this has been created. It's a KPMG report. Do you see that they have a bar chart, which we all know how to create? But what they've done is that they have also categorized it. Do you see this? They have said that the top five are 2.4 million units and the bottom are 12 million units. This is all manual, by the way. And you see how they have identified the top selling cars as well. It's not that we can't create it. We know how to make it. We know we can go to icons and change the color and alignment. I've taught you how to do that. It's about what ideas can you get. And by looking at these reports, you will get a lot of different ideas, right? Look at this one. This is the one I just showed you in my Excel chart, how to make an infographic where you can have these icons within it, right? Any questions, anyone so far? I'll just take a 1 minute pause. I'll get a glass of water. See, most of these firms already have a repository. So if you look at a PwC or a D Shaw or an EY, they would already have their global templates and their collection of smart art and icons, which makes the life so much easier because they already have hundreds of assets available with them, and then they can just use any of this. But we can also create them of our own. I'll give you an example. Let's say you say, Havish, I want to create my own icon, but I don't know how to work with Adobe. Please watch. You can go to a website called Undraw. I'm sharing the link with everyone. So Control C and Control V. Okay. So I've shared a link with all of you. And you might feel at first glance that, okay, these are icons. What's the big deal? The big deal is that these are editable. Let me explain that. So I want to take something related to analytics, right? My area. So I want to take something related to analytics, and I'll just pick up one of these. So maybe I want to pick up this one, and I will not download it as a PNG. I'm going to download it as a scalable vector graphic. Now, what that does is that once I go back to my PowerPoint and I import it, so insert picture and my scalable vector graphic, it looks like a normal image or an icon, but you can ungroup it. So when I right click and I group and ungroup, see what happens? It breaks into smaller shapes, which is so cool. Because now if you say that, Havish, I don't like this pie chart that comes here, just delete it. You don't want this line, just delete it. You don't like this leaf, delete it. You want this to come a little closer to the person, just make it come closer to the person. You want to make it smaller, just group it, make it smaller, and keep it here. You want the person to sort of come on the other side or make it larger, just group it and make it larger. You see my point, right? The fact that you're able to, without a design experience or design language, be able to do something like this is so cool. And you have hundreds of these ready-made images available, and you can mix and match them as you wish. Plus, the colors can also be changed. So if you don't like the color, for example, I can just click on it. I can make this into a different color. Let me do it here and here as well. Check this out. So cool. Right, everyone? Any questions that you have? Okay, so I just wanted to show you how to make something like this. So wherever you're working with geographic data and you're working with a map, now see, you can do it on Excel a little bit, but then you don't have a lot of flexibility. It doesn't look that impressive. So I would strongly suggest that you do it on a tool like Tableau. Ideally, all of you should learn Tableau a little bit or Power BI. In fact, Power BI is more important, but any which way. The tools are free and the learning curve is very flat. So you don't have to put in too much effort. And I want to make it from scratch to show you how easy making something like this can be. Okay. So allow me to go back to my folder and show you the raw file first. So imagine you have a table like this where we have three states. So we have MP, Rajasthan, UP, and we have three segments. So consumer, corporate, home office. And you have the numbers here. Everything is correct, but it's so boring, right? I mean, what meaningful insight can I take away from it? Is it attracting the audience to spend an extra minute on it? Not really. So I want to convert this into something like this. Just see how much more impressive this looks. The same three states have been identified. And look at the way it's so easy on the eyes. It's so easy to compare the three states amongst themselves and also compare the three segments that we have. So let me show you how to do this on Tableau, right? Like I said, even if you have never worked with Tableau earlier, no need to worry. It's just a 2-minute example. So I'm just opening Tableau. Tableau is a free tool, by the way. All right, now watch. So on Tableau, I want to select my Excel file. So I select Excel and ongoing trainings, consulting, and we have our map and we have our data, right? The data is very simple. We just have the order date Then we have the state, country, category, segment, sales, and profit. As you can see, it's a very simple data set. I just click on sheet one. It's almost like working on Excel, right? First, I will double click on my state, but we don't want the entire world. So I'm going to put my country in my filter, and we just want to select India. Like you do it in a pivot table, I want to select India like this. But we don't want these bubbles. We want to draw the outline or the boundary of that state. So I want to keep my sales in the color. Looks a lot better now. On the color, I also want to add a border like this. And I just want to highlight three of these. So I want to highlight Rajasthan, MP, and Maharashtra, for example. So I want to put my state in the filter. And we want to say that we just want to select three of this. So we have Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and let's say Maharashtra. And it highlights it. But you also want to show this for three different segments. So I'm going to keep my segment in the columns and you get three of these. But you want to show the numbers as well. So let's keep the sales in the label. And there you go. I mean, how simple was that? Even if you have never worked on it, I hope you see that it wasn't that difficult. And see, while we obviously want to make a PowerPoint presentation, the fact of the matter is that people are using additional tools, right? So you would be seeing people use Power BI and Tableau, Illustrator, and different design tools to make their PowerPoints, make appear a lot better. So you can't just say that, no, I don't want to use external tools and I want to use the tools available within PowerPoint. Because at the end of the day, people are not going to ask you, how did you make it? People are going to judge you on the merit of the quality of your presentation, right? And then that's it. You can just take a screenshot and put it back. One more thing I would like to show you is that Tableau has this very cool feature to draw a story. For example, if I keep my order date, everyone, if I keep my order date in the filters, right? What I can do is, let me show my filter as well. I can actually move this timeline and I can show how the sales have changed over time. Just see how beautiful this is. You see this, everyone? I can just change the time period and you see how the sales are changing. Of course, this is more of a Tableau example, so I won't get into detail here. But what it tells me is that in the first 8 months of 2012, um, there was a little bit of sales in MP in the home office segment, but corporate and consumer was essentially no sales, right? So this type of example can be really, really helpful. Okay. Can I briefly talk about Illustrator? See, Illustrator is a paid tool. So everyone, so I have the Adobe suite with me, for which I pay about 4,500 per month. I don't want to talk about Illustrator because it's paid and I'm no expert on it any which way. But I will tell you the free alternative that you have to Illustrator. That free alternative is called Inkscape, right? The learning curve is there. Obviously, you can't just learn it in one day. It's a very, very in-depth tool. But Inkscape, everyone, is a free alternative to the Illustrator. I'll just show you how the tool looks. Here you go. Right? So that's how the tool works. Right? And this basically allows you to create your own icons and illustrations. You can just maybe make a note of it. It's called Inkscape. And it's an open source tool, so you don't have to pay anything for it. And a lot of help information is available on YouTube as well. Right? Okay. I also want to talk about animations a little bit. So allow me to open a PowerPoint. Now let's see that we have a map at the background, right? Doesn't matter what type of map it is, just a general map. So I'm just going to go to Google Maps and take a screenshot. Okay, just a moment. 1 second, let me just clean up a little bit. And here we go, right? Let's come back and put this on PowerPoint. You can use this example, not just with maps, but also with images, right? Let me show you what I mean. So watch carefully. What I'm going to do is that I have my map with me, everybody, or any image at the back end. I want to highlight or spotlight a small area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy, Control C, Control V, and I want to crop the second image that we have copied. So we go to crop to shape, and we select a circle. Click on crop one more time. And now I want to just select a small area. So maybe I want to select this area with Amrapali Leisure Valley, like this. All good? Now, once we've done that, I'll place it on top of my original image. Now see, only you and I know that these are actually two different images. Nobody knows that, right? So we will make a duplicate slide, right click and duplicate. And on the second one, I want to select my background image. And in picture format, we will change this into a gray color, like this. Or any color you want. And now the one that you have above it, okay, one more time. Now the image that you have here, I want to add a picture effect to this. So I want to add a preset, something like this. Right? Looks very nice, allows you to spotlight that one area. But what about the animation? Once again, watch, right click and duplicate slide. On the second one, what I want to do is I want to move it to a different location. So I want to right click and crop, and I just want to move it to a different location. Let's say here. And let's move it here. All good. And on the second and the third slide, in transitions, I will apply the morph transition. Now look at the final effect, everyone. So this is how the slide opens. When you go to the next slide, you get this effect, right? And on the next slide, it actually moves like this. So cool, right? So it's almost like a magnifier effect that you're able to move from point A to point B. Okay? That is the power of the morph transition, everyone. So the morph transition can be used for a variety of other things, obviously not in a PDF format, but if your PowerPoint is a live PowerPoint, then you can present it this way. Just to give an example, maybe I want to show 5 images. It doesn't matter what the images are, could be any images. So I'm just taking some free images from Microsoft, if that's okay. So I'll just go to images and we'll just select 5 of these. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, let's reduce the size a little bit. So I'll just make it about 5. That's better. It doesn't matter what the 5 images are, but I just wanted to show you something. So what I'm going to do here is that I would like to show them in a different layout. Okay, watch carefully what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start with images all scattered, right? Maybe that's my story that, there are 5 of these images and I want to align them using an animation. Please watch. So right click and duplicate. And on the second one, I want to align it. So maybe I just want to align it like this. In a minute, you will see why we are exactly doing this. Now, obviously, the first time you do it, you'll have to do everything manually. But then what we will do at the very end is that once all the 5 are kept here, let me just reduce the size a tiny bit. That's better. Okay. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to go to transitions and morph effect, right? And do you see this effect? Now, where exactly should you be using it? You'll have to turn on your creative hat and think about it. But I just wanted to show you the power of the the morph transition, which is that you don't have to use manual animations for stuff like this. Such a beautiful effect that we have, isn't it? And all with the power of the morph transition. So this is like a kid version of animations. It's not as flexible as using a regular animation, but if used properly, can help you save a lot of time and get these beautiful effects, right? So definitely explore this aspect. Okay, all right. I also want to talk about some templates, right? I'm sure all of you are looking forward to them. For templates, you can go to a website called UExec. That would be YOUEXEC. And UExec has, you can create a free account here. I also have a free account. And they have like 150 presentation decks available. While you can't download these completely, you can download like 1/3 of it, right? And you can see that they have a lot of presentations available. And check these out. Let it just load first. Okay. Just a moment. Yeah, here we go. So, you have these beautiful presentations available. And let me just download one of these to show you. So download PowerPoint. Okay. So as you can see, these are exceptionally high quality presentations. They've already done most of the job for you, so the way layers are there, these are called Harvey balls. All the consulting firms love to use it to show different stages of completion. So 0, 25, 50, 75, and 100, these are fantastic, right? These are called Harvey, Harvey, Harvey balls. Again, look at the way these tables have been created. It's fantastic, right? Here you have a 6-box grid, right? You can also show the change that has happened. So you get so many different ideas once you start consuming presentations and reports. Like I always say, don't just open a blank PowerPoint and start to be creative. Why would you want to do that, right? Look at others, look at the other reports that you have, look at work done by others. That itself should teach you so much. Like this is called a decomposition tree. So the way we are able to decompose from one core idea into a mind map, right? Like this. And there are like hundreds of slides and presentations available on UExec. So, really no excuse for you not to have a look at it. And these are all editable as well. So you can see that the animations are all visible, even though it will take a lot of effort for you to work with animation because they are very, very complex. But as long as you're not using animations and you just want to copy some of these assets and change it, should be fairly simple. The website, everyone, is called UExec. That would be YOUEXEC. Perfect. I think we've discussed quite a bit. The big takeaway for everyone is to Google consulting firm, sector name, and PDF. And once you start reading them, that is where you will get so many different ideas. Like what I'm doing right now for a client is, if you notice, I'm basically going through different reports and compiling what I feel is relevant for them. For example, a waterfall chart, the way you can have a demarcation, how to create boundaries. Let me show you something different. It's also important to know what not to do. For example, here, if you notice, it's a BCG report, but this is what I feel completely pointless. If you look at this infographic, it doesn't add any value. I would have understood if the icon within that column had a fit with what we are talking about, but they just kept like a pill. it doesn't mean anything. Also, these stacks that have been created, this is design overkill, right? It doesn't add any value. On the other hand, it takes away, the user's attention, and it is very distracting to look at it. So, looking at what should not be done is also a great way to figure out what looks good. By the way, these are Harvey balls, which I showed you earlier. Yeah, I mean, what else? These are box Whisker plots, combination charts. These are called bump charts. Whenever you're working with ranks, how ranks are changing over time, it's a great way of doing that. If you want to see the different types of charts that organizations are using, then you can look at this link. This is called the FT Visual Vocabulary, like this one, right? So this is a large compilation of different charts that Financial Times uses. So you can just Google it, Financial Times Visual Vocabulary. One more thing you can do is you can start reading dashboards. So if you just type Tableau HR, for example, you can see that there are so many of these dashboards that people have created. I agree that they're not PowerPoint slides, but like I said, I'm going to focus more on the tools and the different effects and the different shapes that you're creating, the assets, not so much on the communication side. How should you communicate is better handled by a communication person, not by me. I'm an analytics person, right? But even searching for something like this gives you so many ideas in terms of how your PowerPoint can be presented, right? Again, in terms of icons, in terms of colors, in terms of the placement of different objects, right? So definitely make sure to go and have a look in this way. Tableau, HR, Tableau, telecom, Tableau, marketing, so on and so forth, right? Like this. Of course, it requires a little bit of research. Like, it's not that you will do a search and you will immediately find something exciting. You might have to search a few pages, but then you will definitely come across something that you absolutely love to use. So there are two parts to the PowerPoint process. One is to identify the good content. So you need to know, okay, this is what I would like to create, Havish. The second part is learning how to do it. Once you identify, okay, this is really nice. I love the way KPMG has created a slide deck. The next part is how do you make it and make it fast? That is where you will still have to learn PowerPoint, right? So you will have to learn the tips and the tricks and all the features mentioned within it, right? So now comes the plugin. So I do have courses available on PowerPoint. So it's a bundle of 3 courses, which covers consulting presentations, basics of PowerPoint for those of you who are just starting out, and obviously, at an intermediate level. So it takes you through basic, intermediate to advanced. And it's a very detailed course. It's a 10-hour course where everything that I've done today and 50 times more has been covered, right? So I'll just share the link with everyone in case you are interested. You can have a look at this, right? And of course, I have bundles on other things as well, on Power BI, Tableau, Excel. And then there is a mega analytics bundle, which has all the different analytics tools within it. Perfect. I think that would be all from my side for today. I hope there were some takeaways for everyone. Uh, you have me on LinkedIn and on email, so do share feedback. I mean, if there's some very obvious thing that you were looking forward to which wasn't covered, because I'm doing this type of a workshop for the first time, right? Where I'm talking about consulting presentations. In my mind, this is what I wanted to cover, which I've done. But at the same time, what the audience wants is not very clear. So I would love to hear from you. And whatever feedback and suggestions you have, I'll make sure to incorporate the next time. Okay? Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And all the very best. And do be in touch.
Thanks a lot, sir, for this wonderful session.
Thank you.